when you first read the script, did it feel like it was in your wheelhouse, or were there elements of it that you just didn't know if you'd be able to pull off?
Well, what did you enjoy about it? I'll get kind of specific.
Well, what I enjoyed about it was kind of the psychological depth of it, the family drama, the elements that I didn't expect to find in a movie that I thought would be a sports movie for the most part.
Yeah, that's, I think, kind of like where I started, exactly what you're talking about, like it being in my wheelhouse, is that I never really saw it as a baseball movie, and I definitely didn't have that kind of upbringing where, it was very driven by one thing and I had to be great at it, and, we kind of had a very different childhood in that we got to explore whatever we wanted to, and we were encouraged to pursue whatever we were passionate about, and my interests changed all the time. So it wasn't necessarily in my wheelhouse in that regard. And then the baseball, I never had pitched before. They taught me how to pitch on this, and I worked with a great coach named Kenny Medlock, who got me up to about 75 miles per hour, and I was throwing strikes. But I think as I was reading it, it's like I almost knew what he was going to say. I don't know why. I guess like somehow intrinsic it was in my wheelhouse, but Noah just kept having me pull it back and pull it back and pull it back, and he really wanted to strip it of anything on it. And I just really, trusted him and what he wanted to do with the movie. But I had a great time with it. It was wasn't easy, but it was so much fun.
Well, you know what I love most about your performance is, and you just spoke to it, is it's kind of it's a very suppressed character, so it demands you to give an interior performance. And I'm wondering, is it a challenge to modulate that performance, to know that you're showing just enough but not too much?
Yeah, and that's always the hope, the fear, and the goal. I don't know. I mean, it was scary because you're like, am I doing anything, or are they going to know what's going on? And I understand that he has his back against the wall at all times, literally. I mean, he sits in the corner of the room and in the shots, but yeah, I just kept trying to strip it of anything, which was encouraged by Noah, and really fit the script. So if there was ever a time to try it, it was definitely on this movie, and I like it. I like that he did that with all the shots as well. At least it wasn't, it was an idea. It was like a theme. It was like a part of the movie, for sure.
It's interesting because
question, but
no, you absolutely did, and it makes perfect sense. It makes me think of a story I heard years ago, where Dennis Hopper was talking about working with Robert Duvall. He was directing Duvall in a movie, and he said he was shooting it from behind the camera, and it didn't look like Duvall was doing anything. And he said, could you give me a little bit more? And Duvall said, well, when you look at the dailies, you'll see it all. It'll be right there. And he was right. And so do you watch dailies to kind of gauge where you are and how you're coming across?
No. In fact, I think if I did that, I'd probably be screwed. But one thing that has happened that's fascinating is people, well, I shouldn't say, sometimes what they want me to do is they say exactly what you're talking about, which is do more. But the ones that I love the most in the performances and the best directors are the ones that get in the editing room and do exactly what you're talking about. They see as long as you've put your time in and thought about it as much as, or at least as close as you possibly can to as much as they have thought about it, then you're going to bring stuff to it. And I think like one example of that is I had a small role in it, which was young Neil in Scott Pilgrim. But because the role was I didn't have many lines, it was all about what I did in between those lines. And at one point, Edgar said to an audience at New Beverly, he said, watch the movie just one time and watch just Johnny. And that was the ultimate compliment I could ever get, because he had picked up that I was not just waiting in the background, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And
when you're...
Yeah, I hope to bring that. I hope that people see that.
Well, there are so many great relationships in this movie, so many great kind of two-hander scenes that you share with your co-stars in this movie. And your co-stars are amazing, amazing actors.
Yeah,
but I'm particularly interested in your relationship with Ethan Hawke, because that's a very difficult dynamic that you guys are playing with. Was there time to kind of get to know one another or acclimate to one another in terms of character before you got in front of the camera?
No, there was no time. In fact, he showed up on set, and I don't really remember what it was like, but all I do know is that me and Paul would get dinner and hang out and talk, and we built this great rapport. And Ethan, I walked away feeling like I never really got to know him until we did press in New York. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think either one of us are like method actors or anything, but we definitely inhabited some sort of headspace that kept us at a certain distance. Because I remember specifically at Tribeca Film Festival when I was like, oh my God, you're like one of the coolest people. You're so nice and so down to earth and so talented. And he talked about the movie in a way I got to peek inside what was going through his head while I was watching it and experiencing it. Which his ideas about the character was, people would say, how did you feel about playing such a bad guy? And he'd say, well, I don't know that he's a bad guy. And to hear him say that, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
He was just in it. He's just a really talented actor.
He sure is. And this movie is, it's about kind of trying to live up to your potential. It's about the roadblocks along the way that many times you put in front of you that you set up for yourself that you have to overcome. And I know that for actors, there have to be times where you feel like I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. What do you have any kind of tricks or methods you use to get in a clear-headed space and refocus on moments like that?
Yeah, I do. Hopefully I can just get out of my head myself, but usually it takes more than that. I go to school. I'm in classes full time now. I also became an EMT and did my clinicals in a hospital for 24, actually it was around 26, 28 hours, but traveling, all those things are really important to me because they remind me that this is fun whenever the world gets a little bit too big and LA seems a little bit too big. And it's a subconscious thing. It's not like I'm consciously, oh, that brought me out of my head. It's more, I almost have to do other stuff just to make sure that I remember why I'm doing this. I suppose that's what the movie's about. I mean, he doesn't become an EMT or go to school or anything, but you have to stay in touch with kind of the kid that loves to do it just because he loves to do it. You know?